Go ahead.
Today is Thursday, November 9th. It is 6:30 PM. I'm Lisa Doak. I am acting as chair. Tara Hayward Olivas was not able to attend this evening. So if we want to do a roll call of everyone who's present.
Oh, we got Cameron Architect.
Cynthia Batty.
Kevin Wade.
Okay, and so we did get notification back from the city attorney that we can use the rule of necessity to approve all of the old minutes that we were backlogged in because we didn't have quorums of people who had attended those meetings. And now with some resignations and some vacancies on the committee, we now will never have a quorum. So we're allowed to use the rule of necessity to go back and approve all the old minutes. So if everyone wants to take a minute to review all of the old minutes that have been provided in our packet. I do have one change that we had discussed at the last meeting, but we weren't able to amend because we weren't able to approve the minutes. But the minutes for the September meeting. So the minutes from September 14th, 2023, it says, okay, they were corrected. That was corrected. It had, the original minutes had said that I was absent and Justin was present, and it was the other way around. So that has been corrected. Okay, so starting with going back to May 9th, 2023. I make a motion to approve the minutes as stated.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
13.
And I believe that the June meeting was not necessary. There were no applications that had to be reviewed. So we move on to July 13th, 2023. I make a motion to approve the minutes as they stand.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion approved. And
September 14 is
July, August, I believe we did not have a meeting in August either. So we're moving on to September 14th, 2023. Make a motion to approve the minutes from the September 14th meeting.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion approved. And last month, so I make a motion to approve the minutes from last month's meeting, which was October 12th, 2023.
Second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion approved to approve all of the previous minutes that were outstanding. We are now up and current. And moving forward, we will be able to have an active quorum at the meetings. So moving on to business, the only application that has to be reviewed in front of HAC this evening is 105 The Strand. And that is Kathleen Curran and Patrick Pinnell wanting to build a new home on that property, so.
Listening rather formal, but in any event, my name is Patrick Pinnell. I was in front of you on July 13th for a consultation, and in the intervening 4 hectic months, with Leila's considerable help, we've made modifications, not big, but I would say critical to the design. And Tonight, Kathy, Curran, my wife and I are hoping for an approval so that we can get on with actually doing construction drawings and building the thing. We are, as of last Friday, residents of Newcastle. The moving truck dropped us off. We brought the cats the day before. Critical moment. Briefly, again, on myself, I'm an architect and planner. I've had my own practice since 1978. And done a lot of historic preservation work, and I would just say that Kathy and I are completely in sympathy with the aims of the Historic Area Commission. So my wife, Professor, now retired from Trinity College, Kathleen Curran, graduate of the University of Delaware, Art and Architectural History program.
Thank you all for hearing us tonight, and we're so enthusiastic about this. We're like what is that saying, the cobblers who always do things for other people in architecture but never have our own shoes. And now we have our chance to build a dream home. So I'm an architectural historian, and I did my doctoral work at University of Delaware in the early 80s. And I remember visiting this place sometime on a field trip with Damie Stillman. And when we were back in 2016, I said to Patrick, I think there's this really cool town called Newcastle. Let's go see it. And that's when we said, oh my God, we've got to live here. So we've been circling around this place since that time, and we hope to do what we set out to do. So thank you so much.
And I trust you've got a chance to see the commission, which we got to know we got this very helpful.
So Layla, would you like to offer comment?
Yeah, I think we back and forth on, not improvements, but slight adjustments to the overall concept that had been presented previously. And I think now we have a good balance with the various slopes of the roof, the slope of the tower, the scale. I think we've also come to a good agreement with the balance of the bays, with the 4 windows and the 3 open bays under the porch. I think that sort of works much better. We'll also come up with a more discrete solution for the exit to the basement from the front. So I think all that works really well. I do want to point out there's one modification that with the package that you have does show skylights, 2 skylights, and those have now been agreed to be removed because skylights are not, new construction. It should be features that match what's already historically there, particularly in the areas visible from the public right of way, and there wasn't that. And I appreciate the back and forth with dormer options and things like
It's
that.
recently, it's day before yesterday.
Exactly. So the skylights will not be there, which means now the line and the facade works better. There are some interesting features towards the back, which is sort of like those translucent shingles on the rear porch, and also some skylights, but those are behind at a lower level, at a secondary level, not visible from the public right of way. So overall, I think there's a good scale of massing with what's adjacent and balancing. I think the side addition, which is a tower for the elevator, kind of expresses what it is, but with a change in slopes of the roof and the shape of the roof, I think it fits overall into the bigger massing. The materials, the proposed flat siding, the brick on the front, and the architectural shingles on the roof, those all consistent with what's done in the historic district. And the raised deck with a deeper porch, there are some area that is also consistent with what would have been in the historic district, and it brings sort of the level with the adjacent property. So overall, I think this is something that I would recommend HAC approve in terms of
That was my question. I guess I'm not interpreting this. There's no setback from, where's the setback from, is the front of the porch even with the other properties?
Yes.
Okay,
So, and the steps come out similar to the other properties which have the
Okay.
steps that protrude. But the edge of the front porch is what aligns with the adjacent properties.
and that doesn't offer any concerns with the visual straight line going down normally?
Well, it's not, unusual to potentially have a primary elevation that's recessed if there's a porch in front of it. A porch of this
Sure.
size and stature would have to stick up way too much to go over. So it's, depending on the streets, that's something that would not be unexpected, should they have been like different phase constructions. I think overall, the massing is a massing that fits and is consistent with what's around. And there's a natural give and take of in and out, and the recess is kind of taken into account because you do have, although it's a lightweight, the massing of the porch that kind of reads and allows for continued, continuity of the reading there.
Yeah, just a quick word on the front porch. The angle of the strand from the compass is 41 degrees off true north. But having a front porch enables one to do is actually have sunshine into the porch late afternoon from the strand side, which is when all the people are promenading up and down the strand. So we just thought that it would be playing friendlier to the street. We would anticipate that we can get it built actually sitting out there and getting to know the neighbors better. So it's a walkability feature, and it's intended to enmesh our house with the street and the community.
And I believe just make sure I understand what your reading was, that the facade aligns overall, but the porch, which you sort of see in the section, the porch is a recess at the first floor.
Right.
Yeah. So it's like, so it's read sort of as an inner sequence going in, but it does capture the elevation of the bays with the spacing. It's real.
Can I ask questions?
No,
No?
of course you can. That's why there's a commission.
Okay, first of all, thank you for your confidence in Newcastle to come and build a new house. That's fantastic. I was curious, I couldn't read or understand what the gray things are on the side of the building. I mean, if Layla says it's fine, then I'm fine with it. I just was curious what it is.
Oh, that on the left is, the color has changed in the reproduction. That's the elevator. We have, a self-propelled elevator, so
Yeah.
there's no necessity for either lift at the top or a basement, motor. The elevator itself is self-propelled
Right,
within its channel.
okay, yeah, that answers my question.
And I do believe just if that's, that and all those what's showing up as gray, those are the areas where you intend to put the German stuff siding, those elevations. So in terms of materials.
There's all sorts of German drop siding.
Oh, good,
along
Yeah,
okay. Yeah, it was just a little hard to read. In
Yes,
in
the
tiny little
materiality
picture.
would be siding, yeah.
And my second question is, on the back, looks like you have a nice big, is that a screen porch on the back?
That's a 3-season porch.
Oh, good, okay. Because your cats will like that.
Yeah.
It's important to build for the
They'll
cats.
get a great view across the river.
Well, they don't care about that, they just care about all the other animals and bugs. And then the last thing, just from my own experience, you don't have a handrail on your steps, and you might want to think about that.
Gosh, I thought I put one, but no, I know.
It's not on the drawing that I see. Is it on another drawing? I mean, you're not required to, but
No, I
you know.
understand, but I think it's a very good idea, and if somehow or another I omitted it, I apologize. That I know
It's
about
not in the model, that's all.
handrail regulations and just,
Just tell us there's a handrail and.
there is a handrail.
Good, because, you'll need it. Because we've got quite a few steps. And is this right next to the other house that was just built? Yeah,
It's,
yeah,
it is at the street. It's 12 feet away from the Flowers house, which is the house at 107. But then because of the protrusion at the side, which is 6 feet, which is my home office, the gap narrows to 6 feet, but that's deliberately still enough to get a skip loader back in case we need to, there's constantly debris washing up on the strand, and we want to be able to get equipment back there. So it's for our convenience and the Flowers immediately next door. We've been in long discussion with them. They've been very helpful.
good, yeah. Okay, those are all my questions. Thank you.
Well, I know on that particular row of houses, it's kind of an Italianate theme is what the surrounding homes are. Is this in keeping with that? Do we have any responsibility to keep the flow of that in that block?
I think when it's not unusual in historic districts that you may have adjacent properties from a similar time that have a different style that would have been present at the time. So we don't necessarily provide guidelines about which style it should be. We would comment if we thought, like, when we had the initial conversation about, we thought the massing would be unbalanced because there are just 3 bays and then another bay that was full at the top. But the fact that it would not be Italian, it would be going different, that is not something to be unusual in a historic district. As long as the overall styling is consistent within building and the proportions, we wouldn't necessarily dictate which style they should be replicated.
The proportions are exactly classical. The column or the pier bases are 10 inches and 8 to 1 high, and then the little entablature is 1/4 of the height. That's the most traditional classical set of proportions.
And do we have any issues with the front porch hardware that's a more arts and crafts, Art Deco, Art Nouveau look?
It's just the 2 lamps,
Mhm.
which we bought decades ago.
Oh, no, we won't put those on the front porch.
Okay.
Put them on the back porch.
Put them on the back porch.
No, I have in mind something
Okay,
more from like Bevelot or something. I'm from New Orleans, so it'll be more of a traditional,
okay.
yeah, you know, copper kind of.
Does anyone present have any questions or concerns about the application? Okay, so,
I have a question or two.
okay,
I thought your house was quite lovely when you brought it this summer.
Thank
I
you.
thought it was a welcome addition.
Thank you.
I find that skylights really do very much to improve the livability inside a house,
Mhm.
especially when the homes are stacked up next to one another as they are here.
Venting skylights are wonderful things and low profile.
Are those skylights as shown in this rendering visible to anyone standing on the street?
Not at the adjacent sidewalk, they would be from across the street. They would be visible. The purpose of them is not only since they'd be slightly operable to allow natural convection and conduction for natural airflow, but we'd love to get a view from that attic space out over historic Newcastle. We love the view back towards the cemetery and the churches and the little Frank Furness library. So that was the logic of the skylights. It was not only the big expansive view across the Delaware estuary, but back towards the place where we're moving.
But that is the thing when we discussed that was not appropriate based on the guidelines, so that's why I appreciate, we went through different iterations of dormers that would be sort of more appropriate for this type, and then
Mhm.
came to the conclusion that they would just have a regular, no skylights, no dormers, just a regular roof line, which is what I would recommend.
Oh,
Rear elevations are different, and there are a number of skylights on the rear elevation.
Any other,
Do we have the power to say it's okay if they have skylights?
We would be contradicting directly our guidelines that say that on new construction, not additional, in additions to existing construction, skylights are only acceptable when additions, areas that are not visible from the public right of way. And then we say on new construction, windows and opening visible from the public right of way should match existing windows and type and design, and skylights are not an existing traditional design within Newcastle. That was the rationale that I quoted, so
Okay.
that would be contradicting the guidelines and the standards. Hence playing around with dormer scenarios.
Any other questions? Any other comments? Okay. Then I move to approve the design as stated in the packet that we provided, given that we make the change as noted to removing the skylights, and it's going to be a flush roof line or a sloping roof line with no dormers, no windows. That has been removed in the final plan. And the lighting on the front of the two arts and crafts lights will not be used. They'll have some copper lighting or other appropriate lighting of their choosing. If anything changes, other than those two things that we discussed, if anything else changes to the plan, you will have to come before HAC again for an amendment or tier 1 approval. But we approve the rest of the guidelines as the plans as provided in the packet today with those two amendments to the plan. And would anyone like to second the motion?
I'll second that. What?
And the handrail.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
I mean, it's committed to it. Put that in there.
Okay, and so what you decided you wanted to add that to the plan for sure, or you're gonna consider it?
Yeah, just the handrail.
Okay, so the amendment will include a handrail on the front, the stairs leading from the front porch, the removal of the skylights, and the change in the front lighting. So the lighting will be different than the ones in the packet. With those three changes, the plans are approved. If anyone would like to second it,
I'll second the motion.
all in favor?
Aye.
Motion approved. So we do have something on the agenda. Once again, this has been on the agenda a couple different times about the gas piping discussion. It's on the agenda, so we can discuss it if we'd like to, but we don't have everyone here, so we could also.
I'd like to request we push it to when everyone can have, that's too important.
Okay, so I move that to the December meeting. So we'll discuss the gas piping placement and responsibilities of the gas companies. We'll move that to the December agenda and discuss that next month, and hopefully when we have everyone present and available. Would anyone like to add anything, or does anyone like to comment publicly? Yes.
My name is Matt Alexander. I'm the president of the Friends of Newcastle Library. I was communicating with Mr. Bergstrom earlier today, and I don't know if he had a chance to forward to you guys yet what I had sent in to him. If not, the Friends would like to make an improvement to the library's back garden. The garden is very pretty. It's got a great bed of native wildflowers covering a drainage ditch, which looks great when it's in bloom, but doesn't make for a lot of usable space. We construct a deck over that drainage area in order to increase the usable space, make it safer, be able to have more programs and events out there.
Is that where the movies get shown?
Yes. Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Bergstrom. The space in the back where it would be constructed is not visible either from Delaware Street or Fifth Street. And because of that, we would like to use composite materials for the maximum durability and safety of the decks, and still be used by children and other patrons. I understand that, we'll need to make an application, since this is in the historic area, but I was hoping to consult when you guys feel comfortable, if not tonight. I understand, because again, you're just seeing this. Trying to understand whether the project is even viable before we pursue funding sources and try to work with the trustees who own the property. Okay, thank you. And if you have questions at this time, I'm happy to answer them. If not, I'll look forward to being on the agenda next month for a consultation.
Bring in more information and prepare to have some time to discuss with everyone, right? So take it to Jeff Burks from Perth and he'll bounce it over here.
Can I ask what information?
I will definitely, I'll be following up with Jeff since it's a consultation.
Yeah.
We'll send an email. I mean, typically what we'd want is pictures from the back of the area.
As it is now.
So as is now, what you're proposing to do a little bit, and I know you had just a quick narrative in the cover that you showed me when we saw it today, so we can sort of have that conversation and then dig into the guidelines also to see about what level it is.
And I should send that to,
To Jeff and
To Jeff,
Marika,
yeah.
and they'll forward it to me, and if there are any comments before, I'll ask, and then we'll sort of fill up to see how we may be able to resolve it.
Right, we haven't been sitting on this, it came in yesterday?
yeah, that's what I said. I totally understand if,
So our best advice to help you is to
Yeah,
suggest what
Also-
you can bring in.
specifics on the composite material, you have a data sheet or something like that would be helpful.
okay,
And the color and stuff like that you're thinking about.
thank you.
Yeah, name brand of materials, like if you have a specific kind of composite, you've already talked to contractors and you want to use XYZ composite material, or, you have volunteers that are going to do it and they're just going down to Home Depot and picking out this composite material.
We have a contractor to use.
Okay, well,
Yeah.
then, yeah, and that usually is pretty involved, and a lot of times in the application, they'll just scan it with the application, so you can add that as an addendum to the application that you've already put with all of that detailed information in there.
Yeah, and I saw the sketch
Also,
that
don't
they showed.
spend money or schedules be material. Should be greatly disappointed. These things in fairness to everyone.
That's why I came here first, because, the Library Friends is a small group. We need to raise funds for the project, but we need to make sure it's viable first. So thank you
I
all.
saw the quick sketch that you mentioned benches, if it's anything that's meant to be street, like furniture that's supposed to stay in place and you know what you'd want to put that also in the application. If it's like built in or anything like that.
So if a chair can be moved, it's not perfect, but if it's a bench that
Yeah,
is
there's
bolted in,
benches,
you have to show it because, show.
Okay, so that is shown on the image provided.
Yeah, it just needs to show what you want it to be, like, is it a planter, is it a wood bench, is it,
I see.
is it, that's all, it's a detail, like what's actually gonna be here, that's all.
Thank you.
Yeah, so saying bench would lead to more questions, saying I want this, a picture of the bench that you have in mind is even better. If, a picture of the bench you have in mind with a very detailed description of color and material would be best,
Great.
so.
That's why I came tonight, to find exactly what
Yep.
I should be coming with, so.
And
I
then
will do
throwing
that.
into that also the railing, because if you have a ramp and you're gonna have any kind of railing along the ramp areas, then that will be in there too.
Yeah.
Areas with detail that'll help you in the end.
Yeah, I will get a much more detailed version of that to Jeff.
And when you reach out with Jess and Marika, if you have any questions, she can send your email to me or give you my contact information and just reach out and I'd be happy to provide the information, even have a quick conversation if you have questions.
The guidelines are online, and so, you can scan through it. Obviously, it's our job to know them, but if you're trying to bring an application that is accepted on the first try, it might be helpful to go through them. So that you.
Any other questions for us?
Any particular guidelines that, but my understanding was that if items are not visible from a right of way, that it is not generally covered by the guidelines.
Oh, no, it covers what is and what is not. The guidelines provide different leeway for if it's visible or not visible from the
I
public
see.
right of way. So the leeway that you have, for example, you look in streetscape. It does say, for example, paving in rear or side patio, alternate materials may be appropriate if not visible from the public right of way. So if it's not visible, it doesn't mean that it's not subject, if you're in the district, it is subject to review. But it qualifies the criteria under which the review is conducted.
Oh.
So, and that's kind of put there and stipulated in the guidelines as a reference. The other thing is there's a distinction if the building that's adjacent, if it's a key building, like one of the significant buildings in Newcastle, the courthouse.
Right.
That has a stringent even for areas that are not visible from the public right of way. If it's not one of those, if it's contributing, then there's a different set of parameters.
Thank you very much. Thank you all.
You're welcome. Did you have another question?
Yeah, just in Matt's defense, sometimes coming before HAP, you don't know what the questions are you should be asking.
Right, right.
That's the problem. So I think you've done a good job here to come and ask. Maybe there's something someday we can do to make it easier.
Wonderful.
If you want.
Thank you very much. All right, thank you.
Thank you for taking care of the library.
Sure.
It's a wonderful resource for us.
It is a wonderful, for sure.
Anyone else? So we've completed our agenda items and there's no further public comment. So I move to close the meeting and end the meeting today.
I would second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Our meeting is adjourned.
Thank you.
Good day.
No, you gotta leave it.